Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show. We have Scott Galletti here as our special guest today. And Scott, voice of the 1017 The Team, and also a commentator for Proview Networks and play-by-play guy. And thanks for coming on.
It's been a while since I've been on your show. You're on the sports desk all the time, but the roles are reversed finally.
Well, the reason I asked you to come on is it's just, we always talk about, football's going to start, and next thing you know, it's
Football's
over.
going to end.
And we're sitting there,
Right.
and soccer and volleyball. And
What a fun football season
season
and volleyball season. I know we're going to get into volleyball, but just to finish, the soccer was outstanding out at the Bernalillo Soccer Complex a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't see any of the volleyball this past week, but looking at the stories and looking at the scores, outstanding matches.
Well, I tell you, the volleyball, good crowds at the Santa Ana Star, great venue. MMA did a great job with, again, getting it, working it out down to the details and getting everybody involved and getting the games on time. But, what was interesting about volleyball, almost every class was 5 sets. That's how close, parity in volleyball was.
I think there was only one that wasn't 5 sets, and that might have been 4A. And even though it was 3 sets, it was close sets. But yeah, 5 and 6A went down to the wire.
And then upset storylines, Sandia Prep, what a great job she did. And she used Proview Networks as a bulletin board, because nobody picked her to win it but it was neat that some of the players were saying that motivated them to get them. So I guess people do listen and hear what is being said about them. So it's great to kind of get those type feedbacks.
And how about Sandia? They break Centennial. They had a long streak. I can't remember what the amount of games was that they had a winning streak of, but Centennial ends up going down in 5 sets. And, I guess the excitement level in that match was off the charts, as it was in the other match before that, St. Pius and Los Lunas, where Los Lunas would come up with the upset win.
Well, going back to that Sandia, I think, and Los Lunas, some of the games we showed on Proview Networks, they've been a very dominating team in their district, and to come in and everybody kind of picked St. Pius, the team that's in their district, to go ahead and win this thing, but. We talk a lot about basketball, but volleyball is similar to basketball. It seems like the team that gets on that little roll on that last week gets confident. And Sandia's been knocking on the door all year long.
It's a great program. They've won championships in the past, so it's an outstanding program. But yeah, they got on a roll and they started feeling confident that they were going to win it. And it's a kind of, like La Cueva, Cleveland. You look at all these kind of teams, and you think these teams can win the Blue Trophy. Sandia obviously is in that conversation every year, and they ended up going up against a juggernaut in Centennial and ended up pulling out a big victory.
Well, and the emotion and Centennial, what a great job they've done. They've come from obscurity to being a dominant program in the volleyball. Because it's kind of funny. You think about volleyball, you think of the northern part dominating. Because you have, it's always Cleveland, Rio Rancho, La Cueva. You always think of the northern part. You don't think of the southern part as having a dynasty in volleyball. And then last year they won it, and they were going to go back to back, and then another northern team, Sandia, comes in and wins.
And a lot of volleyball is about who plays in club, because the players that play year-round in club, that's a definite advantage over non-club teams. So you can look at some of the team successes and see, yeah, they have a bunch of club players on their team, and it shows because the level of play is a lot higher than what a team that doesn't have club players would have. And that's another thing that volleyball is different in a lot of sports, where playing club, when you're dedicated to that sport, that's going to show in championships and at least in competitiveness.
Well, that's funny you say that. Last year, had La Cueva coach on, and basically when they won the state championship, and I said, well, what happens now? And he goes, well, club starts in 2 weeks.
Right.
So, I mean, it was like,
Right.
mean, they just transformed. I mean, it's like, it's similar to high school basketball a little bit. As soon as it was AAU, as soon as high school, sometimes as soon as that state tournament's over, next weekend they're playing they're playing AAU tournaments all over the country.
Well, when we were doing New Mexico games and different stuff with volleyball over the summer, I was talking to some volleyball people about club, and it's growing here in this state, which is great because I know in states like California, where I was familiar with volleyball a lot, it's huge because you got players that dedicate themselves to the game. In California, it's boys and girls for a good majority of the schools. Here, it's mostly girls, but you got a situation where players, they work on their game, they want to be in college in volleyball, and they're dedicated to it. And those are the players that you could see, they won't drop a dig. They won't, they're outstanding at setting. You could tell just the mechanics because of playing all the time. And like you said, Steve, it's the same in basketball, where you got like the AAU, you got different club teams and everything, and the difference in play, even in football, I mean, it's starting to grow with, practicing a little more year-round, where you can see the players getting better a lot quicker than if they just play season to season in high school.
Well, the athletics since I played has really, changed a lot because we when in my era of sports is that there was they limited team camps. They limited summer activities, and then as the years have come to surpass, as they've given more, where you could only, I remember that you could only play, a team could only play in so many games in the summer. Well, the coach could let it, then all of a sudden it went to, they couldn't control it, and it was hard to deal, so they just kind of bought into it. So.
Right. Well, I think they still control it to an extent, but I think they allow you, like even when I came to town in 2008, they didn't allow 7-on-7 for football, and you didn't see a lot of that, and that's how schools in Florida and Texas and California, that's kind of where those players play almost year-round because they're playing in the summer. They're playing the entire summer in 7-on-7. By the time the football season comes, most of the coaches already have their game plan because they've been practicing. New Mexico finally got into that game, and you could see a lot of the passing teams getting even better because the skill players are getting an opportunity to get more reps, and that's what it's all about. It's not, who has better athletes. It's, you get the reps and you get the kids that are dedicated to what they're doing. It helps out.
Well, and the main thing too is it also keeps kids active. Keeps them focused.
Keeps them in shape because you look at today's athlete. You and I talk about this on broadcasts that we've done. The kids are fast, they're strong, they're bigger than they were in our era.
Well, that's funny you say that. It's 1 through 12.
Right.
It's not.
As a whole. That's exactly what I mean.
1 through 12. I mean, in basketball or in volleyball, what I'm just saying is that it's not so much that they're that much better. It's just that they have more that are as better or quick.
Right.
So,
right. That's a great point.
And that's one thing when I talk with people, they say, well, how would you be today? And I go, I don't know because there's. I'm 6'4", and you look at a team, almost every high school team's right across at 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". I mean, it's all the way up. Now you have some.
You'd be a point guard in today's game, probably.
Well, I wished I was. I mean, but the whole dynamics of of just people playing and eating better and the training and the whole things like that. So we got, but anyway, we're going to come back and we're going to talk. We're going to talk more about Scott Gleddy and the things that he's been doing this year.
Not again. Kelly, this time she's done it. Sowers will get to set Thompson for the win. Yes! The Wolverines are the 4-time state champions.
Kaylee Foote again. She's done it! And Logan, they've won the 2A state championship.
Set here for Devaney. The tip, yes! For the championship, Brett Devaney. They have dethroned volleyball royalty.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Davis Show. We got Scott Gleddy, and we're just kind of reminiscing over the last 3 or 4 months, and talked about volleyball, and volleyball was at a high, and a lot of like I said, you had a lot of storylines on it from all the way. You know, Texaco comes through. There seem to be, you know, you just kind of expect Texaco to win every year, and they came through, and then Sandia Prep, this was 3 years in a row that she's won a state championship. And
after they fought so hard to win that first one a couple of years ago, I say first, but the first of the 3, they'd fallen short a couple of times, and they were vested into winning, and they finally did, and now they're on a roll of 3 straight. Well, another outstanding volleyball program.
You know, and kind of little highlights of soccer. Soccer. Little upset there in the finals there, so
Yeah, the 5A and 6A girls were outstanding. The boys were outstanding as well, and unlike last year where the weather and the field was a little in bad shape, this year the weather was perfect. The field, when it's a nice day, those fields are awesome.
Well, I'll tell you, you're right. When we and pretty, and in the background of the mountains.
Oh, yeah, the setting's unbelievable. Yeah, the setting's unbelievable. But the playing conditions they keep those fields in such great shape. You got to give kudos to the people that run that park.
Well, it's and in the barn because it's down low, and it's if you haven't been out there to the Bernalillo to to it. You need to go out and check out how nice the grass is and the fields. They keep, like you said, for the number of games, of soccer games that are played over the year.
And it's not just the championship field, it's all the fields, because you have to walk from the parking lot, you have to walk through at least one field to get to the main fields, and even those are in immaculate condition. So, whoever's groundskeeping over there is doing a great job.
Well, let's talk a little football. I know that the state tournament's not over yet. But
no, it's not over.
And and
it's going fast.
It's going fast, and we look at it from my standpoint as, boy, it did go fast. I mean, it just seemed like Yaffle what starts us in August, and it just goes through so quickly, and that it just snowballs into high school, and the next thing you know, the year's over.
Yep, it's getting to that point. But yeah, we've already got 2 champions as Animas defeated Reserve 48-22 in 6-man, and Fort Sumner House another championship 55-7 over Escalante.
Undefeated season.
An undefeated season. That was in 2A, and the other one was 6-man. And I think it's cool that they have 6-man here in town. I've covered a lot of 8-man in California, so I'm familiar with that. But 6-man, that means that this is a football state like Texas, because when you got 6-man, that means you got it all.
Well, and it's exciting, and the scores, and you look at Animas, they win. Anyway, we went down there, and Josh Brown was the director, and he had the hospitality and and Fort Sumner. I mean, it was just great to see them have undefeated seasons and be successful. But Animas hasn't. You think in the early years, Animas was a dominating football team. I mean, if you
I was reading James Yotis's article about them, and they had at the time a state record of consecutive wins and championships and all that good stuff. And it's a feel-good program for them to be back in the limelight. And
we were really caught off guard. Josh and I, we looked up, the stadium, because we haven't been there. You know what? they had a nice. They were ready for us. They had the internet ready for us. They had a nice venue to work out of, but it's so fun. Those smaller hometowns, it's great because they're territorial, because they have their radios, and they have everybody's, and then when you got to be very careful when you go in not to disturb their territory, because because they've been supporting it all year long, and it's and they're so respectful, but the people get this, like the radio stations and stuff, they've been there all year long, and this is, hey, you guys are newcomers. You need to just bow away a little bit. But it's funny over the years, especially the teams that are successful. I know that Hondo and Lake Hawthorne there for a while were dominating.
Right.
It almost seemed like we were going to those every year. So we. It's just great to see the enthusiasm of those towns.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. You would think, and I say this out of great respect, but our guys that work for Proview are excited to go on those road trips. I mean, even you were like, hey man, can I go do a game? I just want to feel what it's like to see that, in Fort Sumner, the whole town shut down. There's not a restaurant open. There's not anything, anything open at all, and everybody in town is at that game.
Right. No, that's neat, because it's like a Friday night, in this case Saturday night afternoon lights situation, where it's almost like a Texas town, where, like you said, the whole town shuts down for the football game.
And in those stadiums too, is that they can actually drive their cars in. So there's people tailgating in the.
That's the fun thing about 6-man and 8-man.
Right.
Because I've been to many 8-man games where people back up their pickup trucks right to where they can, where the officials will allow them to put the truck right up to the field, and it's kind of a different atmosphere. It's almost like an arena game outside, which is to me it's like one of the more fun games that I've ever covered. And like I said, I've never covered a 6-man, but I have covered 8-man, which is similar. And the 8-man is very, very fun because you get people right at the field and they're cheering the whole game.
Right, and it's like I said, it's exciting, and and I know that there's a lot of things going around that they'll be centralizing football, but I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon because just because of the things that we're talking about is just the ability.
Well, that's the biggest argument against it because I know centralizing it would be good because
it'd be good for Proview networks.
Well, everything would be in one venue, so everyone gets excited to go to that one venue to watch all the championship games. They kind of do that in the LA area for the LA area teams, where there's one
Texas
venue.
Teams.
Huh?
The Texas
teams, yeah. They'll play at Jerry Jones Stadium and such, so it's a centralized thing there. Having said that, the best thing about not centralizing is what you've been talking about. You go to Animas, you go to Fort Sumner House, and it's a great atmosphere.
Melrose, I always think about Melrose.
Exactly.
Santa
Melrose,
Rosa,
that's another one.
Santa Rosa was sold out packed.
You'd be taking that away.
Right.
And to me, I think that's what gives the NMAA and football here in the state of New Mexico character, is being able to have these games on the home sites.
And like I said,
there's arguments both ways.
I mean, that's a great argument, but and then the argument for is now that they've moved it back a week, it's Thanksgiving weekend, and people would love to, it could be like a shopping for Christmas, come to Albuquerque, bring in, get a twofer out of the thing, and
that's true too,
and also something to do when all your relatives come in. All right, we're going to go to Albuquerque. We're going to go have Thanksgiving Day here, and then we're going to drive to Albuquerque and spend the night and watch our sons play and let the city get behind it and get make it an event kind of like the New Mexico Bowl games.
Absolutely.
Or Gilded New Mexico Bowl games.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great time of year. You got some great matchups coming up this week, and similar where they shut down the town, Robertson, West Las Vegas on Saturday.
I know that's going.
I mean, in this one, they've already played once, and the town shuts down, and Robertson, I believe it was Robertson who won that game, and now this one is win or go home.
Right, and that's
so the stakes are higher, which means the tension's going to be even more in Las Vegas this week.
Well, and that's just a rivalry that is, we talk, it's not so much now, but, the Hobbs-Clovis rivalry was huge at one time, and now they've changed districts. So that has, and of course I say that because I'm from Clovis.
Right.
But you look at all the rivalries that, of this, look at what the Belen and Los Lunas rivalry's got to be. I mean that's they're hoping that Los Lunas and Belen get to play.
Well, Belen being good this year. A couple of years ago they struggled. They had a coaching change. Last year they got better. This year undefeated. So I mean they've been outstanding, and it's just amazing to see. And then the two teams played once, and it was down to the wire, and it took a missed extra point to help Belen win that game, and Los Lunas wants to face them again to make up for that loss, and Belen wants to play them again, I'm sure, to make sure that they prove that it's not a fluke.
Well, and I tell you, Los Lunas, you think about they're playing Artesia, and they're on the side of the bracket with Artesia,
right.
So that's going to be an interesting. If they keep moving on, I'm talking.
If they keep moving on, this week they're on the road and they're at Farmington.
And that's going to be a tough little task going up to Farmington. I mean, that's going to be a tough.
Yeah, it's a 4-against-5 game. So
if you think about this, if
fun.
Los Lunas, wins that game, then and Artesia wins their game, then Artesia owes Los Lunas, and so Los Lunas, that game will be.
That's where the who owes who comes in.
That's where we're all kind of, and we're not giving Farmington in any respect, but to beat Los Lunas. But I tell you, Los Lunas is very impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at their losses, and they're really to the top 2 teams in their district. But we've got.
Their losses were also winnable games. So, I mean, that's they're a very good team, especially when they get their offense clicking.
I tell you, excitement. I mean, I mean, you know, it was
Nick Garland is one of the top quarterbacks in the state.
I mean,
And
you said that.
We talk about him, but we've never really, and even I'm very high on him and have been high on him ever since last season, but I've never given him the full accolades of, hey, this guy's one of the top 3-4 quarterbacks in the state, I think.
Right, and the other one is, you know, is the El Dorado quarterback. I think he's right there.
He's right there. Artesia's quarterback's right there, and you know.
So
Berlin does it a little differently, where they don't have the throwing quarterback. They run it down your throat, but they're an outstanding team. But when you think of Las Lunas, the guy that runs the ship is the quarterback, Nick Garland.
you know, you've done a lot of the games this year on a weekly basis. That any surprises that or big games that kind of came at you that kind of caught you off guard a little bit?
That's a good question.
And I'll just start. I'll start off with, I think, looking back, was like kind of Cibola beating El Dorado.
That was a huge surprise.
I mean,
I think that was the one that shocked a lot of us. Not to take anything away from Cibola, but because of El Dorado being such an outstanding offense, moving the ball so well, they were on a high going into that game. And then Cibola just shredded their defense. Now, one of the things that Charlie Dotson has said since day one is, well, if we can't stop anybody, we're not going to win. Well, that game, they had trouble stopping Cibola. And Cibola came up with the big defensive plays when they needed, and that's what won them the game. But, yeah, that was a huge shock to me. I was also surprised the El Dorado-Manzano game turned out to be more of a blowout than I thought it would be. It was in bad weather conditions. I know they were going back and forth. I got there just before halftime of that game to check it out, and it was raining, misting, and it was kind of dreadful in terms of, it wasn't cold, but it was just wet. And but the teams were scoring back and forth, and then Manzano's defense put a halt on El Dorado, which I was surprised that, I thought that game was going to be maybe a 7 to 10 point game with neither team able to stop each other. Well,
and then even going back a little bit, even before that, kind of your memory is the Manzano-Cleveland game. And that just kind of put, Manzano was like the #1 team coming in, okay? Now the question is, could they put a whole season together, which they did. They went undefeated, first time in Manzano's history. Congratulations, Chad Adcock, for getting that done. Now he's got a little pressure on the next 3 weeks. Can he put this together? And he's going to have a hard task. If he wins this weekend, he's going to go down to...
Yeah, if Las Cruces wins this week, they have to go to Las Cruces in the semifinals. And that, I don't care how good... My first year doing
Las Cruces, we talk about we haven't given Las Cruces the accolades that probably they deserve.
Yeah, I've given them accolades. They were unhealthy, or getting unhealthy, the week that they lost to Cleveland, and they've won every game since. Cleveland's won every game since they lost to Manzano. Both those teams, Cleveland and Las Cruces, took the losses and built on them. And they're dangerous teams right now, both of them. And, Cleveland playing Hobbs this week. It's going to be a great game to watch. They're going to be going up against a passing quarterback who's thrown for over 5,000 yards, only 8 picks on the year, over 50 touchdown passes. But this Cleveland defense impressed me. I know I saw the game when they played Rio Rancho, and they came out of that game with a hard-fought victory, and that was one of the more entertaining games I've seen, because that was another game that was back and forth, and defensive stops ended up being the difference in the game.
Well, Scott, we're going to come back and we'll talk more about high school football, just sports in general, things coming up, and just keep this thing going.
Sounds good.
Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf Dart tag games from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting two teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts. Like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Christy Mae's Restaurant is locally owned and operated with a family-friendly atmosphere. Their array of homemade comfort food is just like your mom's. From homemade chicken pot pie to their famous chicken salad on a croissant, Christy Mae's even offers lunch catering. Christy Mae's Restaurant is located at 1400 San Pedro Drive, Northeast. They offer drive-in, carry-out, and catering. Open Monday through Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Davis Show. We got Scott Gleddy here. And Scott, we got, pretty interesting, year back has gone by fast and quick. Football is still knocking on the door, and a lot of football will be played. And, I think Manzano's the team, anybody can't argue that they're the team to beat, and I think Chad Adcox is the first one to know that if injuries happen or sicknesses or grade things could happen over here in the next 3 weeks, it could change a little bit of those cuts, because he's not a lot. It doesn't have a lot of depth, and then we got a hot streak going between. Actually, you think about it, Cleveland and La Cueva, they got some hot streaks going on there, and Reinauer won the state championship 2 years ago, and kind of got humbled a little bit against Manzano, and since that time, it's been
they've been steamrolling people for the most part, except for Rio Rancho. They've been steamrolling people. And that's the thing that, from an outsider looking in, that's kind of eye-opening where, like I said before the break, with Las Cruces and Cleveland, you look at their scores in the games since they've lost their only game of the year, and you think, wow, they're on a mission, because they're playing like they're on a mission.
And then two other teams, too, that, you said it, Rio Rancho and Hobbs. You think about.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Hobbs again, because you asked me who I thought was a surprise. Hobbs would be one of those surprise teams, and we've talked about them on the sports desk, where Hobbs beat Artesia. They're one of the two teams to beat Artesia. They've got a quarterback that throws for over 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, which to me is a mind-boggling number to only have 8 picks and 50 TDs. That means the guy's doing something right. Now, I've talked to some of the folks in the media, and they were quick to say, like James Iotis and a couple of others, quick to say, well, they haven't maybe played the toughest competition, so, and they're not in the toughest district or this and that. So, we'll wait and see on them. But it's going to be interesting to see them play Cleveland. But I still like Cleveland in this game.
Well, the biggest knock on Hobbs is the game against Las Cruces. It was the score that kind of like all of a sudden, did they play a strong enough schedule?
Right.
And are they ready to compete with the top 4 teams in the state?
And that's a great point, and we won't know that until this week because we're going to see them play against a very, very good Cleveland team at Cleveland. So that is going to be a game that basically it's going to be put up or shut up for Hobbs. Now, one of the things that you mentioned that needs to be mentioned again about injuries this time of year, and you've brought it up in the past, Steve, what happens this time of the year? It gets colder. And the colder it gets, the harder hitting injuries are going to occur. So, and the tougher teams that were hitting hard in August and at the beginning of September, they're still hitting hard. And it's, can the other team take it as much when it's chilly outside? So weather conditions do kind of equate to injuries sometimes too. So you got to stay healthy, kind of going back to what you were talking about, Manzano and Chad Adcock.
Fortunately, the weather was pretty consistent this year.
It's been beautiful.
I mean,
I'm just saying, we're getting into late November, so it should get colder.
What's funny, we have, usually right around soccer times we start getting
raining,
cold,
almost snow, but not quite, but cold rain. We haven't seen that yet.
And I'm looking at this week, and it's like 70, almost every, I don't, it's not going to happen all the way across the board for the rest of the year. I get it.
But we'll take it as long as we can,
Take it. So weather's not going to be a factor probably this weekend, and so that gives them 2 more weeks to not have to worry about injuries. But the, you made a great point about, if you think about these in the 5A, Artesia, everybody owes Artesia. So Artesia is going to, I mean, you don't want to go to.
I want to go to the Bulldog Bowl. I want to see that place and see it full. But no, as a team, you probably say you want to go there, but you don't want to go there.
Well,
that is one of the best home fields.
As a team, what you would like to say is, "I won on their."
Exactly. But I've heard so many comparisons to the Bulldog Bowl to Ralph Tasker Arena. It's like the football equivalent, and obviously with so many championships, they're the football equivalent.
Well, and I'm going to say this, but the color orange, and you might a lot of orange. I mean, that's an Orange Bowl. Okay, right. It's not the Artesia Bowl. It's the Orange Bowl. Okay,
right.
And I tell you that, and there's another perfect example. The whole town will shut down, and I'm sure there's people right now buying. They're already assuming that the Artesia is going to be there. That they might even be staying at the seats right now just where they make sure they get in.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's talking to folks from Artesia, it's a great environment, and we've posted pictures of the Bulldog Bowl many times here on your show and on the Sports Desk, and it's one of those stadiums where. You got Rio Rancho and Cleveland that have made their stadiums kind of similar here up north because they have on-campus stadiums, but it's about as Texas-type atmosphere in high school that you can get.
Well, one thing I want to say to everybody is that we're going to do 3 games this weekend. Okay, I know some people, which is a good thing and a bad thing, is that. Some people were disappointed that we didn't do the West Mesa El Dorado game that Saturday, but I just want people to realize that we have an obligation with MMAA that we can do those, but it's not a game that we have to do. Mm-hmm. But we had obligations to do the
championship games,
championship volleyball, which was from 8 o'clock in the morning until like 10 o'clock at night that day.
And the lower division of 2A and the 6-man
we had
football
to travel. So our manpower and I guess where I'm going with that is We would love to do that game, but guess what? It's economics and it's equipment, and we would love to do every playoff game in the state. So,
and I think the easiest way to put it, Steve, is championship games take priority. And you had a championship week with volleyball. You had a championship week with 2 football divisions. So you got, like you said about the agreement with the NMAA, you got to do those games first, and everything else kind of comes after.
And the other thing too is
that's just pecking order.
This weekend we are going to do we're going to do Hobbs and Cleveland. That's on Saturday, and we're going to do La Cueva and El Dorado. That's going to be a community stadium. That's something people need to know. It's going to be a community stadium at 7, and then we're also going to do the Manzano Clovis game, and then Clovis.
That's the reason why the La Cueva El Dorado games had community stadium, by the way, because Manzano is the #1 seed, had first dibs. They picked Wilson Stadium, and it was kind of well publicized. La Cueva, being the #2 seed, they didn't want to fall into Charlie Dotson's hands, because what does Charlie like to do? He likes to play Saturday games. Brandon Back said, no way, we're playing on Friday, so we'll just change the venue.
And I'm real curious to see if that bites Charlie. I mean, because he's going to have one less day to prepare for. He could have played on Friday night. He played Saturday, and now he has one less day to prepare for La Cueva, and then of course La Cueva. Back to the deal, it might be a little bit colder in another week.
Right.
And what is the strength of La Cueva is their
power and running and hitting.
And then hitting. And in
fact, one of the hardest hits, Ed Nunez and I have talked about it all year. One of the hardest hits all season long came in that La Cueva Cleveland game.
Well, and you
got Derek Lloyd, you got McLean, you got all these guys who are hard hitters. They don't just hit you; they knock you like they're going through a wall.
And I'm speculating if the El Dorado La Cueva game is at community and Manzano does win out, it's probably going to be the state championship's going to be at community. There's been a lot of say that wouldn't happen, but it's already looks like presence is set stage.
I love Wilson Stadium, but I mean, if there's a championship game, especially between 2 Metro teams, you got to have it at community because you can get more people. There's almost 8,000 seats at community.
I get it, okay, and I'm not going to argue. You're 100% right. But I guess that's Manzano's home field. So
no, I know.
So you're saying that that Artesia, that it would be okay to come to University of New Mexico and play in that because
Artesia's not moving there. I don't think Manzano would move their game. I'm just saying that it would be a great thing, but. With Manzano, the choice.
It's right next door.
If you're Manzano, you got to pick Wilson. I mean,
right.
Unless you're trying to do what's best for the area and not for your team. But if you're picking what's best for the team, you have that game at Wilson.
That's why I just bring it up. It's going to be something come up. It's going to be a topic.
But it's something that we haven't talked about since I've been doing high school because all the games have either been in Rio Rancho or they've been in Las Cruces.
It's a good problem. You know what? It's a good problem to have.
It'll be nice if we can have a game in the Metro in Albuquerque because they've been at Cleveland, they've been at Rio Rancho, they've been at Cruces, at the Field of Dreams. Why not have one either at community or Wilson?
Well, Scott, we're going to come back and we're going to one more day. We're going to talk about more football and more things coming up. And actually, we're going to bring up the basketball starting next week.
Duke City Sports Bar, proud supporter of Proview Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. Catch all the sports action from high school, college, pros, and MMA on one of our 35 HD TVs. Start your night off right with any selection from our delicious menu prepared with fresh, never frozen ingredients. Duke City Sports Bar, Albuquerque's newest sports bar. Located on Eubank and Montgomery, dial 505-433-4020.
Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico High School athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. Scott, we've, kind of just been all over the place a little bit, but, we better not forget about San Pius. We better talk a little bit about, their win this last weekend. And
yeah, what a comeback it was. They won the game 42-35, and they were down, I believe it was 28-7. Then next thing, I'm checking the scores, and it was 28-21. And then all of a sudden, it's 42-28 St. Pius. Like, what the heck happened? I didn't even read the story about it, so I don't know how many touchdowns they scored in the fourth quarter, but they must have scored in bunches, maybe got an onside kick or something, but they held off Lovington 42-35. But what a comeback for them. And now this week, their reward is they get to play Artesia at the Bulldog Bowl on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock.
Well, and we say that on paper,
that's a rematch of the championship last year, by the way.
You look at the history of Artesia and Pius always plays Artesia close or
they do.
I think 2 years ago it looked like they had it was one of the reasons they won the next year is they went down there and it was like a one touchdown. Artesia won by one touchdown to beat them, so you look at this game.
A couple of plays here and there, and that could have gone the other way.
Artesia better be ready to play on this game because, it's a revenge game. So, if you really think about it, they beat.
They'll have the motivation for the revenge game. But I'll tell you what, St. Pius, and it was proven where all of a sudden their offense woke up in a hurry. And this is an offense much like Artesia's that can score 28 points in a quarter, just like that. And if they're like Las Lunas, they're like Artesia, they're one of the top scoring teams, even with a young quarterback who's only getting better and better in Pavia. This is going to be one of those games where, like you said, they better be ready. They be in Artesia because St. Pius is going to bring it, and I don't think St. Pius is going to be in awe of the Bulldog Bowl like most teams are.
Well, they've been there before,
right?
Okay, and it's like I said, they've been there almost every other year, over the last 5 or 6 years, and so it's something that they're not going to be in awe of. Okay, is that the word? Is because they're not going to be. They've seen the orange and they've seen the halftime. They've seen the beginning of the game, and so sometimes you get overwhelmed when you just see the festivities that are surrounding the whole event.
Right.
It's tonight. That's an event. It's not just a game. That's an event. I'm sure that Artesia's going to have tailgating.
I was going to say they'll be tailgating in the morning and getting ready for the game.
And then you just got to love the band's going to be playing, and and they're well educated on the players and the coaches of the opposing team. So the student body is going to be a big factor of trying to chastise.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because that's one of the schools that stands out that is almost like a college in that regard, because you're right. The fans and the students especially know everything there is to know about the opposing players coming in, and they'll be heckling you and everything, and it's almost like a college atmosphere, where a lot of the colleges do that with the student sections.
That's one of those things where you'd almost like to have like game day on, to come in and get the the eastern and southern. I guess that's southeastern part of the state, and to see the energy and the level of what they put into the program.
Right. No, it's going to be it's going to be a tough one to win for St. Pius, but I think if any team can go into Artesia and win, it's the St. Pius team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The question is, can they get it done? I mean, that's easy to do. I tell you, I think Artesia, there's a lot, you can make a lot of statements. You think about the two teams they lost to, Artesia. I think they're 8-2 this year, and the two of the teams they lost to was
Hobbs and Cleveland.
And all by the identical score. It's like one like 59-48 or 57-48 on.
Yeah, there were games where they had a chance. In fact, the Cleveland game, they had the ball last possession and had a chance to come down and score. And it was almost the opposite when they played Las Lunas, the only 5A team that I think they almost lost to, which is kind of the same thing, where they needed the last possession to win that game. But I think that was the only 5A game that they've been close in.
And so if you think of that, Cleveland a number 3 team, and Hobbs is a number 6 team. Right. So so you could make a condition that they're in the top 6 in the 6A poll. And, and then I tell you that 5A, then you got a lot. I tell you,
it's hard to, outside of just saying Artesia is going to win, it's hard to pick 5A because there's so many teams. Las Lunas, Berlin, even St. Pius, that can win.
Well, and then let's don't forget about Farmington. We do forget about it because it seemed like, to me, it seemed like Farmington is just like off the radar. It's like a team that I've been watching your polls and watching the thing. And it's just like it just dawned on me they've been there all year long, but. And they just keep winning.
Yeah, we mentioned them. We just haven't seen them, and they're kind of the unknown in terms of this part of the state, but they're known by anybody in football, and especially opponents that have played them.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Do you realize in 6 weeks it's Christmas? I mean, it's in next.
I know we're talking Thanksgiving a week away. We're talking all the 4A, 5A, 6A championships on December 2nd, which is only 2.5 weeks away, so that's pretty amazing.
Well, and guess what? Basketball is here, starting next Monday, right before Thanksgiving. We got Monday and Tuesday, and something that I always like. I always like the early games because it's the varsity girls and the varsity boys, and so it's You get to see kind of, and we'll do multiple games with it.
And traditionally, there's usually very good crowds for those games too, where you would think, oh, it's football season, there's not going to be that many people. That's not the case.
Well,
usually the crowds, depending on the school, they're there because of boys and girls.
Well, the crowd's because of boys and girls, and a lot of the, it's just not.
And it's also usually against metro schools where they'll bring their fans, so it's usually a great turnout all the way around.
And then the word excitement or expectations, all of a sudden, you think about basketball, we're already having games, and it's like, so it's.
How many weeks does it take till Adam Deal starts talking bracketology?
Well,
one.
It's already. You know what? It's.
He's already talking about it, right?
Well, it's not just Adam. It's even the coaches. The coaches I've talked to, they're like, you know, this seems like Coach Benjamin. I hope you're listening to this, but it seems like you finally got the respect.
We'll be getting tweets from him soon.
You finally got the respect from the northern part. I think you're number one. Okay, I just want to, you know, let you know that after all those years, that after even winning a state championship, that you're not on the radar anymore. You are the radar. So that's what I'm looking at to see how his team comes up and fares this year. But that's funny. But Coach Benjamin has been.
That's
great.
the guy that's followed me on Twitter just simply so he could keep track of what I say about his team. And he was first to tell me about that too.
And you talk about a heckler. He's the heckler. He's like, you got to be careful. And so I'm giving him all the accolades. You know, what you finally preseason poll, you're number one. So now you have to stay at number one, or you're going to go the other way. So a little bit of pressure on you. You've never been preseason number one. So that's going to be interesting. I'm sure I'll get some feedback from that, but you know, that's cool. I mean, it's great that that he follows Proview Networks, he follows it.
He follows all of us. I mean, that's what's kind of cool about it. He literally follows all of us.
And, you know, and Coach Smith at Hobbs is, you know, so you're all, you know, I think we get a little bit tunnel vision because we watch too many Metro games, and so we, you know, and that's probably one of my faults because you know, we don't cover as many out of town games. The Southern schools, you know, which have great, you know, Hobbs.
Although Proview did a few games out of the metro area last year.
After he heckled us, and we did go down and did Las Cruces and Añate, and that
did a great game too.
And it was, well, at that time they were 1-2, and so that was great to see, and it was also great of the hospitality that the Las Cruces gave us when we went down there. So a lot of positive things from that, but it's neat that Proview is getting more statewide notice to the teams that are in the state. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, the sports desk that you and Ed Nunez does, and a lot of it has to do with Red Menace and what they have to bring to the table. And then everybody just getting involved with just the whole state. And you think about it, the great, you know, MMAA, what a great job they do. And then you think about locally, you know, APS with, you know, Kenny Barreras and Dylan under budget constraints, what a great job he's doing. And, you know, Bruce Carver and what he's doing with both Cleveland and Rio Rancho, and then Wilson Holland with what he does at Valencia and also Los Lunas.
Yeah, you know, the two guys that you just mentioned, class acts, and, you know, they love both schools. I don't know, because I've never asked Wilson when we've seen him, but Bruce, he won't tell you which one he would pick over the other. You know, one time I asked him when we did the Rio Rancho Cleveland game this year on Proview, I asked him, so who are you picking tonight? He said, I'm not picking anybody.
You know, and that's tough on him. He just wants both of them to win. It's kind of similar like us. He
represented Wilson Holland, Bruce Carver. They represent both of their schools very, very well equally, and you got to respect what they do.
Well, Scott, hey, thanks for coming on. It's fun to reminisce a little bit, and, you know, we've got a lot more to do before the year ends.
Yep, should be fun.